The Lunaverse Tales, Episode 1, An Early Reunion by Rainbowdoubledash. Chapter 9, Abandonment. The filly alicorn reached Luna and began to nuzzle her leg. This shocked Luna for catatonia. She backed away as though stung by a bee, though bee stings were not something she even noticed. The filly let out a cry of fright at Luna's sudden motion, nearly tumbling over once again. But extended her wings, though small they were, helped to keep balance. However, she also didn't try to win away, and kept her large, round eyes focused on Luna. Luna's own narrowed slightly. This could still be a trick. Probably a trick. I am Luna. I am the Knot, she proclaimed, keeping her voice at normal volumes this time, and somehow unable to put true force behind her words. I am the shepherd of the moon, tamer of the stars and sovereign of the ceaseless dark. Shalt identify thyself. The filly was walking forward again, heedless of Luna's words. Her legs trembled with each step, and her head was bowed as she watched her own hooves working closely. So closely she didn't realize that she had reached Luna again until she bumped into her and started to tumble. Her fall was broken, however, as Luna reached down with her head and neck instinctively, stopping the filly's tail as an earth-pony mother might with her own foal. I'm slowly dying! Within a moment, the small alicorn had her legs under her again, but she didn't move her head from Luna's own, instead rubbing her head against Luna's own, eliciting a gasp from Luna. Then it struck her a second time, that this filly alicorn was her daughter, that this was not a trick, nor some dark creature in disguise. Really, Luna? Look at that thing! Phew! Just a foal, seeking the comforting touch of her mother. Luna lowered herself onto her barrel, and the filly copied the motion, letting out a sigh as she gave her still new legs and hooves a break. She was staring at Luna, mostly into Luna's eyes, but occasionally the filly's eyes would wander to take in Luna's wings, horn, hooves. A growling stomach, the filly's, interrupted the moment. The filly let out a slight whimper at that, but stood up and walked towards Luna, probably to suckle. Apparently the filly was unaware of the nature of its own birth, such as it was. In any event, Luna's body was completely unable to provide the filly the nourishment she was seeking. That did not mean, however, that Luna herself was unable. Stopping the filly's walk with one wing, and listening another whimper from the hungry filly as he did, Luna's horn glowed a deep blue. The filly's eyes went wide at the sight, mystified, even more so when Luna created a water skin for nothingness, a water skin that was swiftly filled to capacity by magically created, but no less nutritious milk. Luna telekinetically waved the water skin's nozzle beneath the filly's muzzle, and once she caught sight of the water skin's contents, the filly grasped it tightly with her hooves and began to drink, settling down next to Luna as she did, pressing against Luna's barrel. If she was disappointed her mother was unable to teat-feed her, she didn't show it. In fact, saw the precise opposite when she laid her head against Luna's side, nestling under her wing. Before long, Filly had drunk her fill. Luna nuzzled her after banishing the water skin and its contents back into the ether, running her muzzle against the filly's back until she burnt. The filly herself seemed content to simply lie against her mother, having apparently decided that walking around was too much effort for too little reward. Was I ever as small as thee? Luna asked softly, chuckling slightly as she did. Her daughter stared back at her, her eyes drifting closed and then snapping open, before slowly drifting closed again, as she fought against a losing battle against sleep. Luna chuckled once more, nuzzling her daughter, an action that came surprisingly easy. Luna was hardly a virgin. She doubted any pony, anything, could live as long as she did and retain its chastity. But she had never been before a mother. Yet she seemed to be taking it easily enough. Except one thing. Her eyes widened as she remembered. "A name!" she exclaimed softly, closing her eyes in contemplation as she cast her memory backwards. She may never have been a mother, and to her knowledge neither had Celestia, but that did not mean the subject had never come up between the two sisters. At times, The two spoke of grave matters, matters upon which the world turned, matters of life and death, order and chaos, good and evil. And other times, they had talked about deep and meaningful things, the meaning of life, the nature of love, the responsibility of an alicorn towards lesser beings. And on occasion, they had spoken of nothing of importance at all. How had the ponies' perception of their rulers have changed, if they had ever caught the two discussing their opinions on this mare's or that stallion's finely toned body, arguing whether white or red wine was better, or even something as innocuous as what they would name their foals, if they ever had time to bear them, or the courage to change their lives so. Luna couldn't remember where or when she had had this conversation with Celestia, other than somewhere in a very long time ago. But she did remember the conversation itself, and the name she wanted to call a daughter. Cadence! She said softly into the filly's ear. By now she had fallen asleep. Thou shalt be Cadence, little one. This changed everything. This filly changed everything in Luna's life. She had shirked her responsibilities for too long in Canterlot. Nearly a year, hardly caring at all for the chaos that must have ensued with Celestia being banished into the sun, and Luna unable to muster the will to continue her regional duties. She wondered what the political situation in Canterlot was. She didn't know, but now she had to. She would need to go home, raise Cadence, and, like a beam of pure moonlight illuminating a path, Luna saw where that would lead. She saw a room full of the finest silks and softest pillows, with hoof-crafted toys for a foal, for Cadence. She saw Cadence in that room playing there, alone but for servants ordered to wait upon her hoof and hoof. Occasionally, Cadence would look up to the door, but she would not see what she was looking for. Not see Luna. She would have everything the daughter of a princess deserved to have. Everything but her own mother. Luna blinked. No, that would not happen. She would make time. Like she made time for her sister? Luna stifled a gasp of pain at that. Even now it hurt. What she had done. What she had been forced to do. How she had been unable, unwilling to see what had been happening to Celestia. To see madness in her eyes until it was too late. To pay close attention to the decrees of day court. Of course it hurt even now. It had only been a year. Compared to how old Luna was, never mind her yet older sister. What was a year? It was barely a moment. The pain was still fresh, still there. The sudden, unexpected arrival of the foal, of Cadence, made her forget, truly forget, what she had been forced to do for the good of the world. Banish her own sister into the sun forever. Even Luna could not undo the magic wrought by the elements of harmony. For the briefest of moments, Luna looked down at Cadence, now sleeping, in disgust for what the foal had done, for making her forget her own sister. Uncounted millennia simply forgotten. Forgotten over what? An accident of their fight? This foal was nothing more than debris, fallout. Yet she had dared to rob Luna of her grief. It was only for an instant, and in the next instant, Luna found herself nuzzling Cadence again, in shock and accident of her own action, needing to feel the foal's coat and mane, needing to realize where her thoughts had turned. The only thing Cadence had done was be born. Not a natural birth, to be sure, but certainly no crime. She only wanted to be fed, and to be close to the pony who she believed to be, who was, by any rational examination of the situation, her mother. Luna closed her eyes. She could not return to Canterlot with Cadence. She could not be both Princess of Equestria and mother of a foal at the same time. But then, that was an easy choice while Cadence was snuggled under her wing, sleeping softly, but nevertheless still instinctively leaning into her mother's nuzzling. How could Luna choose to be anything but the foal? It would be easy enough to hide, raise Cadence on her own. She had moved mountains, boiled seas. She had no delusions about the difficulty of being a mother. But she was also completely confident in her ability to rise up to the challenge. Well, there is one fic where Celestia does it. I'm sorry, but I miss that fic. Cadence would grow into a fine young mare. In a world with Equestria falling apart around her, with the three pony tries referring back to the old ways. Once more, Luna saw the possibility take shape. When Celestia vanished, when Luna disappeared, Equestria would crumble, fall apart into petty fiefdoms and weak city-states. Already that was beginning to happen while Luna grieved. That was with her still visible, still making her appearances known on some level to forestall arguments over succession. A matter that neither Celestia nor Luna had even considered before. As immortal beings had little need to concern themselves about what might happen after they died. But if Luna disappeared utterly, Equestria, the dream, the union of the three tribes of ponies would collapse. Its successor states would exist, only to be preyed upon by dragons, griffins, by whatever foul creatures looked at ponies and saw prey. No, Luna breathed, eyes wide as she stared at the sleeping Cadence. There was no true choice at all. Equestria had to come first. Luna, she would make every effort to dote upon Cadence, to spend as much time as she could on her, as would be part of raising her daughter, raising her in a world of intrigue and corruption, raising her in a palace surrounded by false masks and political agendas. How old would Cadence be when she survived her first assassination attempt? Would she have even earned her cutie mark before her first attempted kidnapping? Would her teenage years be marked by increasing interest in stallions or mares, and the increasing boredom with nobles, trying to court her to gain wealth and power and a direct connection to Luna? And what effect would all this have on her? To Luna, she would be a daughter. To Canterlot, one more political tool, one more weapon to wield against one's enemies, one more obstacle to overcome by any means necessary. Luna could try to reorganize the government, but it wouldn't work. It didn't matter if the governance of Equestria was a monarchy, republic, anarchic commune, or a rigid tyranny. There would always be pony more interested in mortals, and it would be more interested in power than in mortals. Then there was immortality to consider. Immortality never bothered Luna. Ponies died and she did not. That was simply how things were. She had witnessed friends, and yes, even others, grow old and wither and pass on. She had grieved for each one, truly grieved, and she truly missed them all. But then she had moved from each one, too. Her heart had been wounded, but eventually she recovered from the wounds. Even the emotional scars faded with distance from the pain. Time truly did heal all wounds. But Luna was old. Luna remembered discovering the first ponies. She had millennia to simply move amongst them in secret, or to watch from afar, to grow accustomed to her own immortality compared to the fleeting lives of ponies. Cadence would not have that luxury. Cadence would grow up around mortals, make mortal friends, take mortal lovers, watch some as they one by one passed beyond the pale. And she remained. In that scenario, under those conditions, Luna could easily see how one could prefer a fleeting life to an eternity of eternities. Luna felt wetness in her eyes as she stared at the sleeping Cadence. She inhaled sharply, biting back her tears, not wanting her daughter to awaken and see her mother crying. Luna could run away with Cadence and doom Equestria, or Luna could take Cadence to Canterlot, where she would be the target, where she would watch as everyone she knew withered and died around her, where it was easy to imagine her growing to hate her mother, or at least hold her in contempt. And in either case, Luna would be a horrible mother. Most horrible of all, though, was the fact that Luna immediately came up with a third option. The most terrible of all for her, at least in the previous choices. Luna got to keep Cadence. But Cadence deserved better than what Luna could give her. If Luna wanted to make any claim of being a good mother, then the third option was the only one to take. The journey to Cavilla took a week for Luna to fly. She could have reached it even sooner had she flown at her full speed, but even though she was an alicorn, she doubted that Cadence would bear traveling at supersonic speeds. She also could have reached it even sooner had she not delayed every wing beat, stopped at every cloud bank or interesting-looking grassy field or lakeside, and allowed Cadence to slide from her back and run around. Cadence tried it easily, and galloped easily now too, of course, though she tired quickly. She seemed to enjoy racing Luna. Never mind that a casual trot from the alicorn could beat Cadence's full gallop. Luna let her win 9 times in 10 regardless, and she did not, It only was because he would race ahead and turned around, waiting for Cadence with wings spread wide and hooves outstretched. When the foal reached her, she would scoop her up and nuzzle her closely. Cadence's laugh was the most beautiful sound that Luna ever heard. We apologize. We are going to have to stop the live read for a few seconds while we try to re-energize martial art fruit user because I think he just died from the dullness. Clear! Luna tried to remember when she knew of growing foals. While Cadence was able to run and play, her mind was still developing. She was not yet capable of any kind of speech. Instead, simply babbling incoherently. She wasn't even capable of calling Luna Mama yet. Well, that, Luna resolved, was probably for the best, given what Luna had to do. Galvalia was a nation of rolling hills and idyllic valleys to Equestria's southeast. It bordered Equestria to the north and west, a generally peaceful kingdom called Saldia to the northeast, and wide expanses of the southern sea to its south. The kingdom had not known war or strife in 4 centuries, due to being a close ally to Equestria, the mightiest nation on the continent but for the Griffin Empire. They were located far to the north, and currently dealing with their own eternal squabbles besides. Luna was loath to admit, but in many ways, Galvalia was a superior nation to Equestria. Perfect for raising a foal in. Luna flew deep into the countryside, magic surrounding her to keep ponies from nosing her passage. Cadence lay on her back asleep, blissfully unaware of what her mother was going to do. What she had to do, to give Cadence the life she deserved. Luna found her goal soon enough. A vineyard. Galvalian vintners led the simple, honest lives of a farmer. But their wine, being in high demand across the continent, meant they could also live lives of relative comfort. Luna spotted the owners of the vineyard from the sky. An earth pony mare and stallion, looking like they had several fillies and colts of their own already. One more would hardly be unwelcome. Her horn glowing, she further used magic to look past their mere physical forms and into their souls. She found nothing that offended her. Another spell, to read the minds of the ponies beneath her, found them to be decent folk, possessed no hidden agendas or psychoses. It was not enough. What Luna wanted to do was line amongst them and question them, interrogate them, make them swear ancient oaths to look after and care for her daughter with their lives. But if she did that, she would never be satisfied. And by the time she had finished, Cicadas would be a mare in her own right. Luna landed in an isolated part of the vineyard, using telekinesis to take Cadence from her back and set her onto the ground. This woke the foal, but she took to being disturbed happily enough, trotting up to her mother and nuzzling her closely. Luna returned it eagerly, pulling the filly close to her chest. "I'm sorry," she breathed into the filly's ear, repeating the apology over and over again. Though Cadence did not understand a word of it, after several long minutes of holding her daughter close to her, she moved her away, looking Cadence over for a few moments before closing her eyes and setting her horn to work. Cadence was once more wrapped in a midnight blue glow. After a moment, the glow intensified. Luna's magic freezed up around her daughter's nub of a horn, incapable of channeling magic of its own yet. Grimacing, Luna wheeled her magic to flow across the horn like water across a sandcastle. It gradually, gently disappeared, Cadence not even noticing it leaving her. Next, Luna moved to Cadence's wings. These Cadence didn't notice and let out a cry of fright and shock, though the process was not physically painful. Luna nearly stopped there, nearly undid what she had done, but the images of the alternate lives of Cadence and Lean entered her mind. She forced herself to continue. Cadence understood what her own mother had robbed her for her potential flight and magic. She didn't show it. Instead, the filly rushed to Luna, hiding beneath her larger form, not understanding the changes to her body were being done by Luna herself. The princess ran a hoof across Cadence's barrel and through her mane, trying to comfort her, even as she worked harder. She reached into Cadence now, touching the very core of her being and working as powerful magic as he had ever over the filly. It wasn't enough to take Cadence's wings and the horn. The disguise, chains, would have to be greater than that. It was not enough for her to look like an earth pony. so he had to be an Earth Pony. The spell was complicated, but not difficult for Luna. In a few moments, Cadence's very basic nature had been changed, as he was an Earth Pony. Strong, tough, grounded, touched with the land, immortal. Luna's magic faded. She felt like she had just murdered Cadence, as surely as she had conjured a blade of steel and plunged it into the filly's heart. Cadence still pressed close to Luna, trembling, not understanding what had been done to her. It's for the best, Luna explained to her daughter, voice trembling uncontrollably, tears streaming from her eyes. Cadence didn't understand it either. She only understood that her mother was here. She was warm and would protect fillies. In some ways, she wasn't incorrect. Luna scooped up Cadence again, holding the filly close to her. For several long minutes, she considered never putting Cadence back down, never following through with her mad plan. Even now, it was well within Luna's ability to restore Cadence, to return to Equestria, to Canterlot. She could try and give Cadence the fullhood she deserved. She should try. But she would fail, as surely as she failed her own sister. Luna knew this. Her horn glowed again, once more touching Cadence, this time putting the filly into a deep, peaceful slumber before laying her on the ground. Then, closing her eyes and reaching out with magic, to the Vinters, instilling with them a compulsion to come forward, to this part in the vineyard. She didn't have to wait long. Within just a few moments, the two Earth Ponies had arrived, neither understanding nor questioning their hidden desire. They didn't notice Luna, for she still had the same perception-altering spell wrapped around her form. But they did see Cadence. The mare of the pair quickly came up to the filly, inspecting her, while the stallion looked around, rearing back to his hind legs to see if he could see Cadence's parents, but found nothing. Luna waited, listening to the Vinters spoke to each other. They spoke Cavilian, but their language was no barrier for the Princess of the Night. The two ponies swiftly decided to take Cadence back to their house, where the mare could look after her, while her husband went into the nearby village to see if any pony was missing a foal. The stallion gently hefted the filly's sleeping boy with all the care of an unexpected father, laying her on top of the mare's back before the two left for home. "And what if we cannot find her parents?" the mare asked, as Luna listened closely. The distance they were putting between themselves and where they had found Cadence hardly an impediment to the Alcorn's senses. Should we keep her?" The stallion was quiet before answering his wife with, "We will deal with that if we have to." However, Luna was inside his mind. The answer he gave was not the first one he had thought of. That had been, "Of course we will recall her." Luna reacted before she could, planting to suggest it in the minds of the mare, a compulsion so strong she could not help but name the foal Cadence. Luna had taken so much from the filly: wings, horn, immortality, even her true mother. She could at least leave her with her original name. Luna lingered for several more minutes, magically observing as the stallion and mare reached their home, showed Cadence to their own colts and fillies. All the younger ponies acted with concern and curiosity. The youngest asked if the vineyard was where all foals came from. In any circumstance, Luna might have laughed at her naivety, but as it stood, it was as though that was a signal for her to leave. She took to the skies once more, heading north towards Equestria, and unlike her slow flight to Cavilla, this time she moved as fast as she could, flying as though Discord himself were chasing her. As fast as she flew, however, she could not outrun the knife embedded in her own heart, nor the twin waterfalls that flowed from her eyes. She managed to cross the border into Equestria, made as far north as the province of Palermo, before the pain in her chest, the image of Cadence that would not leave her mind, finally became too much to bear. She had to purge all thought of her being before she consumed her, and made her do something foolish. She could fly back to Cavilla, and take Cadence into her house, and lay waste to the Vinters for daring to take her daughter from her. There was only one way she knew of to do that. Luna landed in the center of town she did not bother to recall the name of, and had enough to rattle the ground itself and kick up a mighty cloud of dust from its darkened streets. "I'm your princess, and I demand succor!" Luna ordered as she stumbled from the dust cloud. Ponies scattered at her arrival, some pouring from the local tavern. But as Luna approached, head bowed, staring straight ahead like a predator locked onto prey, they fell back in, away from their princess. "Wine!" Luna shouted. "Meat, ale, something, anything! Bring it now, or some of the wrath of the princess of the night!"